This is the Yanks Go Yard podcast with Adam Weinrib and Thomas Carannante.
Welcome to the Yanks Go Yard podcast. I'm Adam Weinrib alongside Thomas Carannante. Finally, a valuable week end in the Bronx. Not week. Week was terrible. Weekend, pretty good. You can no longer say that the New York Yankees are in the middle of a 6-game losing streak or a 1-7 stretch. They're now officially in a 1-3 out of their last 4 sequence, which sounds better, which is better, which isn't permanent, just like the 6-game losing streak was not permanent. And yeah, they did it to the Angels in the finale and then 2 out of 3 against the O's. And yeah, they played another one of the most frustrating games of the season Friday night against Baltimore. And yeah, on Sunday morning, 11:35 Roku time, hope you woke up. The Yankees are now officially undefeated in Roku City, but they played 7.5 innings of, again, the most frustrating baseball you've ever seen before recovering for a valiant comeback win, meaning they are now 2-22 in games they trailed after 7 innings, which means no comebacks ever, 2 wins when you're trailing after 7, but also they have 32 losses. So they have 10 losses where they were not trailing after 7, leading or tied. That's a yikes for me. But hey, let's focus on the positives. The weekend featured 2 wins and featured a Clarke Schmidt game that we have to talk about. And yeah, a flashpoint, depending on how people feel about the game of baseball these days and what modern baseball means and what historical accomplishments mean to a team and player. I think that a lot of that deserves to be on the back burner, frankly, after what we saw from Clarke on Saturday. But obviously, we have to talk about it. Plus, what's upcoming, prospects emerging ahead of the trade deadline, and injury shakes up the rotation again. And yes, the New York Yankees see one of the top pitching prospects in all of baseball on Tuesday. But it's more fun coming off a series win than it would be coming off a series loss or sweep. Thank you for joining us, 2 o'clock Eastern every Monday, every Thursday. And also kudos to Gary Sánchez, who did not, in fact, single-handedly defeat the Yankees this week. And it all kind of evened out in the end. I'm Adam Weinrib. I am joined by Thomas Carannante. This is on YouTube. This is on your favorite podcast feed. Thomas Carannante, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Can we get broadcasted on Roku City? It's one of my favorite fictional places.
It's really, I mean, again, the Yankees, I don't know if they stayed out late on Saturday night, hitting up the bar scene of Roku City, dabbling in a little karaoke, floating through the purple landscape. But either way, they were up and at the field early, getting through that digital world and ultimately took home a victory. Though, again, they didn't really wake up until after 1:30 in the afternoon, which is when baseball games are typically played. So that kind of does line up.
I mean, look, we'll take it. They're in a bad stretch right now. And this is what I do when they're in a bad stretch. At least what I've tried to learn over the last few years is the bad stretches don't last. I mean, there are 2 things to probably take from it. You look at the worst of the worst during the bad stretches, and you simply clock the notes. Wrist blows, failing in close games, people not stepping up at the right time, bullpen decisions, lineup changes, and things like that. Just jot them down. No need to yell at each individual one. Sometimes we will. It's the nature of it. But it's important to note for later on down the road. 2 is, look, no team is immune to this. The Rays started the season off terribly. They won, 22 of 30 over their last 30. Astros are 18-7 in their last 25 after a horrendous start to the season. This is baseball. It sucks. It's excruciating. It makes you think that your team is a lot worse than they actually am. But these are the stretches that we go through. You're looking at a Yankees team right now too, where you're seeing a little bit of the wear and tear across the board. So, it's the middle of the season. We're pretty much at the halfway point, or extremely close to it, to maybe 10 games away. And this is where, guys need to settle in and get comfortable and know that the grind is it's really about to begin. The grind is just beginning. The summer months getting hotter. We saw the Clarke Schmidt outing. It was freaking a scorcher that day. So, I am not overly concerned about anything new, I should say. I still am not super thrilled about this, again, remaining a boomer bust lineup. I don't like the failure in the late innings. I don't like the bad comeback trend. plenty of stuff to not like, but you're looking at the Mets right now. They're in the same type deal. That's one of the best teams in baseball who has overcome so many injuries. Yankees pretty much in the same boat. Like, they went 16-4 over a stretch where I'm not going to say they shouldn't have, but they had a lot of those close victories. They had a lot of those pitching duels that went in their favor. It was only a matter of time before it all kind of came back around. Remember, life evens out, in case you haven't lived long enough to experience that at this point.
Wow.
So Yankees are experiencing a little bit of life evening out right now. They'll get over it. It's fine. Again, winners 3 out of 4. Was it the prettiest 4 games ever? Not really, but it is what it is. Moving on. Playing the Reds on the road, I guess. So we'll unpack what happened in this series and any other developments. But yeah, we're chilling, dude. Just chill through the bad stretches. What is it now? What is this recent stretch? They lost 6 in a row.
Yeah.
They lost 7 of 8.
Yep.
So they won. They're 3-7 in their last 10.
And they are finally, and they're about to play 3 in a row in Cincinnati against a Reds team that alternates surges and struggles.
Schedule, by the way.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like this, but finally Thursday, off day. I believe it's 16 games in 16 days.
Yeah.
And they went from 11:35 a.m. at home against Baltimore to Cincinnati for tonight's game. None of this makes any sense. By the way, the Boston Red Sox get an off day sprinkled in between every series these days, it appears. They didn't get one going from San Francisco to Anaheim this week. And congratulations to the Red Sox. You're really going to have to tough that one out. But they got one between Seattle and San Fran. They got one before each of the last 2 times they faced the Yankees. I don't know, folks. It's just the kind of thing that makes you go, all right, great. Off days whenever you need them. I mean, very helpful. They could be very restorative. And it appears that MLB was like, hey, Alex Cora, we hear you. Sometimes you just need to take a breather. We'll hook you up every time you have to travel 100 miles outside of the state lines or whatever. Meanwhile, the Yankees are slogging through 16 in 16 days, which includes West Coast to East Coast, which includes a whole bunch of nonsense, and again, home, go to Cincinnati for 3, headed back home to face the A's, head to Toronto. Good stuff, guys. Scheduling gurus really came through with a home run there. But yesterday's win was extremely important. I think for me, mostly there are a couple of reasons. I think Jazz playing at 70%, like he said, has continued to be one of the Yankees' best players since coming back. He's got an OPS near 1,000. He's hitting 350. That's maintained. Kudos to Fernando Cruz yesterday, too, for coming in with first and second and nobody out and going splitter, and striking out the side.
I have no problems with him. Every time I watch him, I know he's had a couple of shaky outings, but for the most part, he's been awesome.
It's also just like, I don't think you can really reasonably have problems with him. He's had as many shaky outings as Luke Weaver has. That's what happens to relievers. He and Weaver look like a couple of the best relievers in baseball this season. And sometimes they're going to not be perfect. It is what it is. I think the Yankees have done a good job managing him and Weave for the most part. Although I'm going to need to see a great Weaver outing after coming off the IL, because it was a couple of not great ones beforehand and a pretty bad one on Friday that led to a loss. Doesn't shake my long-term faith in Luke Weaver, but we're now on 3 weeks now of when he comes in, it not being a cinch. So got to get that sorted out. No better time than the present. But I'll say mostly an important win yesterday because of the 2-22 number. You can't be a serious World Series contender if you're 1-22 or 2-22 when trailing after 7.
No.
And too often, again, just bickering on Twitter. Nobody can take criticism of the Yankees without them taking it as some sort of overarching statement. I tweeted the other night that the Yankees are doing what bad teams do, giving up the lead or giving up the tie and then going down 1-2-3, 1-2-3, 1-2-3 in the 7th, 8th, and 9th, which they did on Friday, which is indicative of their larger problem, that they are, they fail to add on after they tack on a couple early runs. But Friday was the archetypal Yankees loss. Down 2-0 in the first, tie it up at 2-2, but had the bases loaded with no outs and 1 run already in the bottom of the first. Could only get 1 more in. Bad. Judge homers, but they put guys on in the 4th. They put them on in the 5th. They don't do anything. They don't get the additional runs home. So, of course, they blow a 3-2 lead. That's not a real lead. And they give up an additional run. And from that point forward, can't manufacture a run, don't put any pressure on the opposing team, and go down after surrendering the advantage to the Orioles in the late innings. And I tweeted, that's what bad teams do. and a guy was like, they're in first place. It's something. They're a bad team. No, they're not a bad team. They're playing like a bad team. They've played like a bad team for 3 weeks. They're doing what bad teams do. If they do it for another month, they might be a bad team. They need to fix that. And then yesterday, they do the exact opposite. Finally. But 2-22 when you're trailing after 7 is not a recipe for being a team that wins close games and wins nail biters and wins playoff games. Yes, they are losing a lot of games where the ghost runner is on an extra innings, which won't happen if they do make it to October. But you need to, it's not just like the elite of the elite. Every playoff team, when they're down 1 in the 9th at home, puts the fear of God into the opposing closer. Walks, puts a guy on, starts the gravy train, here comes the crowd, and makes it a challenge for the opposing closer to shut the door. And often they do. It's not a 50-50 proposition. You're probably going to lose that game 80% of the time. But the good team, not just the best teams, not just the upper echelon, but the playoff teams make it scary. Put runners on first and second with 1 out. Then you have to strike your way out of it, or you have to get a double play ball. The Yankees are just going down 1-2-3 for the vast majority of this season. Down 1 in the 9th to Felix Bautista or Kenley Jansen. It's just like you don't even have to watch.
Yeah, it's simulation inning.
And the Angels series was the peak of it because obviously game 1 was the winning run was on second for like a half hour and they couldn't get that run in. But the third game of the Angels series too, where Volpe makes that error, the tie gets broken, but they wriggle their way out of it. It's somehow still a 1-run game in the 9th. Okay, well, what can we do here? Kenley Jansen, perfect in save opportunities on the year. He's destined to blow one. He hasn't been great. He has like a 3.9 ERA, but perfect in save ops. Okay, 1-run game at Yankee Stadium. I can't think of a better time for him to blow one. Like, you need a win. You got to come out in the 9th with urgency, and they get a grounder to third. Error. Luis Rengifo throws it high, runner safe. So the leadoff runner is on a mistake. You haven't done anything to earn that runner on, but here we go. Pressure's on. Down 1, a game you desperately need. You shouldn't be in this, but you are. The Volpe error should have spiraled into 4 runs, but it didn't. So here you are. The guy never moves. It's a fly out to left, simple. Escara rocketed one right to the right fielder, and then Anthony Volpe, who everybody's favorite whipping boy, then had a great day on Saturday, finally got the day off on Sunday. Maybe this is the turnaround with just the feckless strikeout to end it. So going from 1 to 2 and 22 was actually pretty important for this team. It's nowhere close to where they need to be, but it was a step in the right direction. And Jazz swinging on 3-0 was an ultimate sort of like, hey, we haven't been doing anything. It's the Costanza, like time to do the opposite of what we've been doing. We be taking on 3-0 here because that's the baseball convention. So let's just be aggressive. And a beautiful swing deep into the right center gap. Got the job done and scored pinch running Paul Goldschmidt from first. Awesome. Kudos to the Yankees for that comeback. And I'm going to give kudos, my second spot, to Will Warren, too, for settling down in this one. Because he finally did what I begged him to do. And I begged him to do it in the first inning yesterday. I'm going to keep begging him to do it until he consistently does it. But he has phenomenal stuff. And sometimes he's on. And sometimes he's 6 shutty, 11 Ks, 1 walk, 2 hits. And he doesn't have to be that all the time. But he's too good to be as bad as he is in his lowest moments. So what he needs to do, the next step in his development, is find that slightly higher baseline when he doesn't have his best command and when he's not trusting his elite stuff quite so much. Because a pitcher with stuff that good, the worst they should really ever do, pending something going wrong or a flu or you woke up hungover in Roku City, is like 4 runs in 6 innings or like 3 and 5. And your pitch count's messed up and you leave early. And yeah, every pitcher sometimes has a random implosion. But the consistency has to be either he's elite or he's, 4 innings, 2 runs, we got to take him out. And the 2 runs in the first, when the first 4 batters of the game reach base, like it's been that too often. It's been boom or bust for Will Warren too often. And I said, find a higher baseline. Yeah. Your stuff is too good for the opposite of your best starts to be this. We have to find eventually some sort of middle ground because your stuff is too dominant for you to fall victim to this too often. And he rebounded. And he not only did he find that baseline, but he had a spectacular game by and large, finding his footing after the first inning and after the 2-out run. So that surpassed my expectations. That wasn't even what I asked for. But next step for Will Warren is sort of finding that way to not let things spiral and not let, his own command betray him to that point where there's no middle ground for him. And he sort of found the middle ground yesterday, and it allowed the Yankees to come back and win this game.
Very encouraging. That's it's the opposite usually. Yankees get to a starter in the first inning every time, and then that starter says, "All right, fuck you. I'm going to go six or seven innings." And you're like, "Where did this go? What happened? We had this guy on the ropes in the first." But I think that was a big test for Will Warren because we've seen the blow-ups happen. They haven't been happening too early frequently, obviously outside of that Dodgers game. But I like the perseverance there. For me, I don't know if this is I don't know. It's Ben Rice. I mean, he had 7 hits in the first 18 days of June, and he had 5 the last 2 days. Is it a coincidence that the Yankees' worst streak of the season came during his worst offensive showing? It could be. I think, obviously, again, it also coincided with a heinous Anthony Volpe streak. It also coincided with Trent Grisham completely coming back down to earth. Cody Bellinger has been a little bit up and down, so there's been a lot of factors. But I mean, when Ben Rice was tearing the cover off this ball in the first 6 weeks of the season, this team looked unstoppable, and it gave Aaron Boone a lot of flexibility at the top of the lineup. And you're sitting here at one point in June, and you're just like, can we keep putting Ben Rice either in front of Judge or in the leadoff spot? This is, I don't know. I just don't know. Can we mix it up, find something else? Because obviously we know slumps are part of the game, but we're talking about, again, it's a young player. So you don't know if it's a slump or if it's just more indicative of their play because they're not that experienced. And I think Ben Rice, we said before this year started, talked about how key he would be with A, Stanton being out to start the year, B, with the need of a backup first baseman, with the need of a potential backup catcher, because we didn't know how J.C. Escarra was going to pan out. J.C. Escarra, though, huge game on Saturday. That was awesome.
He's kind of awesome. It gets lost in the Narvaez shit, and rightly so. I get it, but he's also awesome.
And I've come around on him a lot. I love his swing. I love and we have to remember, they said on the broadcast, they're like, J.C. Escarra 0 for 18 throwing runners out this year. And I was jaw on the floor for a second when I heard that. But then I stopped and I said, the guy's not a fucking catcher. I'm like, what? He should not be, not a knock on him. He should not be employed at this position. It's not his position. It's a new position for him. And the fact that he's commandeered all these close wins, the fact that he, for the most part, has caught Will Warren brilliantly this year. I know Austin Wells caught him yesterday, but testament to what he's been able to do. I don't think he's necessarily an X factor, but he's getting the job done with what he's been tasked with. So absolutely awesome. But it's Ben Rice for me, just because I think probably the first player we could truly say in a while swing made for Yankee Stadium. Mm-hmm. Purely a pull hitter, violent swing, hits line drives, 5 inches off the ground. That's the type of hitter profile that he has, and it's perfect for Yankee Stadium's dimensions. Last year, everyone thought Juan Soto was, but people forget Juan Soto hits to all fields. He's an incredible hitter. Ben Rice obviously has the capability to do that, but we've seen early on in his MLB tenure that he is a heavy pull hitter. Mm-hmm. The man's hustle. I love him running the bases too. All around great vibes. I want to see him back to that really productive offensive output because he was in a good place. This offense was in a really good place, and it could be the key for a mini turnaround here.
Yeah, the Ben Rice savant page is the craziest thing you've ever seen. Yeah. Not that that's the gospel, and sometimes hitters are just unlucky, but it's almost impossible for him to be this unlucky for the rest of the season.
And that too, yeah, the slump, the unluckiness got lost in how bad the slump was.
Yeah, but nothing changed though. There's nothing underlying other than he strikes out a little bit too much, but not Spencer Jones style that would have him in the dumps the way that he was. he, according to all of the metrics, should be one of the best hitters in baseball. If you're looking at the rolling average where things are dipping, like they ain't dipping much. He has some of the most spectacular expected statistics of anybody in the game and plays in a home ballpark that is perfectly suited to his talents. So natural rookie, like you want to label it a natural rookie lull, but in reality, it's just like absolutely nothing has changed for a month, and he should be hitting top tier among the greats in Major League Baseball. So if you're skittish about, you've seen Yankee mirages in the past, I get it, but all the data shows that there should be no change here. And hopefully this weekend was him coming out of it a little bit. And he's now a backup catcher, some on occasion. Paul Goldschmidt still getting, some breathers and time off. I want to shout out Aaron Boone shouting him out yesterday for not starting, not playing, coming in fresh off the bench, pinch running for Giancarlo Stanton and scoring from first on the Jazz Chisholm double, barely scoring too, really tight. It feels like Goldschmidt is Aaron Boone's favorite free agent signing ever. And a lot of Yankee fans, in terms of 1-year deals, it's really hard to top what he's brought, even though he has slumped a little bit lately. That doesn't change the fact that
the work he's done against left-handed hitters, though, it just doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter at all. And he's got an 800 OPS, and he should be an all-star. He's second in the voting right now, and he's probably going to lose that one-on-one showdown to Vlad Jr., and then the math gets hard because you have to put Jonathan Aranda in, because you have to get a Ray in, even though the Rays are threatening for first place.
Socialist all-star game?
Yeah, of course. You have to get everybody a spot. Ryan O'Hearn benefiting from, Rafael Devers being traded. He's now suddenly leading the AL and DH. Maybe we get Ben Rice in there too. But it's the math gets tough. It sounds like Boone is going to stump for him, though, based on what he said yesterday, where he called him. He said he embraced his freaking humility. He loves what Goldschmidt did, and he said he's a Hall of Famer. He's probably going to be going to the All-Star game. And Boone, as the AL manager, does have some say in that. So hopefully he exerts a little bit of his force, finds a way to get him in. Maybe, I don't know. The injury replacements are harder to do. Opt-outs, easier to get your pitchers on. But Boone does control some of that as the manager. And I think his love for Goldschmidt shined through yesterday. And we all freaking love Paul Goldschmidt. So, yeah, let's get him in the All-Star game.
I mean, look at him scoring from first on that play. There's so many layers to it. Obviously, the first is that he's an aging player with not a lot of speed. So baseball instincts, again, I think there is a version of Aaron Boone that has been starved for somebody with baseball instincts and baseball, just know-how. And I think the Yankees have deviated from that. I mean, we know the Yankees have deviated from that. They're still bad at fundamentals. They can't lay down a friggin' bunt. They can't. There's no strategy in the late innings. Routine defensive plays up until this year were not guaranteed. Even this year, Anthony Volpe, some shaky situations on whether he's coming in on a ball or he's letting the ball come to him. So Goldschmidt, using his baseball instincts that are trumping his actual, abilities on the field, he has no business scoring from first on that play. But he got a head start. He made the reads correctly. You actually look at the overhead from when he was rounding third. Instead of taking like a crazy wide turn, he positioned himself. It literally saved the run. If he takes another foot outside of third base, he is out. He cut the corner and perfectly ran down the line coming home and beat the throw by a hair. And you know what I'm going to parallel it to is Friday night's DJ LeMahieu getting thrown out by Laureano.
Yeah.
DJ's getting sent home on the single, and he's watching the play unfold the entire time. Paul Goldschmidt is running from first, head down, looking at his path to the plate, ensuring that he is going to save every step that he possibly can in order to beat the throw. And it's like just night and day with some of these things. Like DJ LeMahieu, very similar type player, battle-tested veteran, been around for a while, ton of accolades, like 15 years in the major leagues. Like, man, stop looking at the play. You are being sent home. Your job is to run home. Your job is not to look at what Ramon Laureano is doing. So it's just like, we have veterans on this team. Can we please all put our powers together to act accordingly? Because look how far it gets you. It's the small things, and I know it's dumb, and we'll harp on it for a while, but the only reason we're harping on it is because we've been so deprived of it for so long that it's like, this is such a breath of fresh air. And I really do think there is a part of Aaron Boone that's just like, thank God, man. Like, finally. Jeez. How long did this take? Why? But yeah, I mean, enough cannot be said about Paul Goldschmidt. It's the signing that we've been asking for the trade for how long? 2 years?
Mm-hmm.
Something like that. A year and a half, 2 years when Anthony Rizzo, ever since he went down with the concussion, and nothing was right after that. And then the noise got loud this offseason. We're like, dude, he's a free agent. He's coming off a down year. Like, this is the time to get him. Thankfully, they got him, and it's been a godsend for this team.
And it was a pretty nice rebuke for the stats only people. The people who are just like, I don't get it. Like, you look at certain, buzzwords and he's regressing. And sure, the Yankees can afford $12.5 million. The Yankees can afford to bet on the player, and the Yankees watched the second half of last season. There was a lot to like. And so far on the field, there's been a lot to like. So team building a little bit more complex than sometimes the spreadsheets lay it out. Well, we'll get to Saturday because there's obviously a debate here. You got Clarke Schmidt, who has the second lowest ERA in all of Major League Baseball among starters past a certain innings threshold since the start of 2024, behind only Tarek Skubal. So that is, it's one of those where you feel like it's a little misleading, but also it doesn't get more, by the books than just how many earned runs is he allowed? How good is he compared to the rest of baseball? Great. That's pretty fantastic. Clarke struggles to go deep into games, but Clarke has shaken off most of his other problems over the past year and a half. Although he was injured in a good portion of 2024, he didn't look like the best version of himself by the time the playoffs rolled around. They are trying to make sure he does this year. He started off this year slow and injured as well. He leaves after the 7th inning of a no-hitter. He's got a 25-plus inning scoreless streak going. This is not just isolated to Saturday's game, but what were the two toughest innings of Saturday's game? The first, where he walked 2 guys and threw 29 pitches, and the 7th, where he threw 20 pitches, went 1-2-3, and had numerous 2-strike foul balls, proving that the stuff was a tick down from where it had started and where it had evolved in the middle innings. Boone hesitated not 1 second in pulling Clarke Schmidt from a no-hitter. His team was leading 9-0. They put in JT Brubaker for his first Major League appearance in almost 3 years. And it's a shame that it was 9-0 because you did have to do that. You can't use your high leverage guys. No, you just can't.
Combined not like two, who the fuck cares? Sorry. Who cares? I don't.
I certainly don't. I love no-hitters, right? I stand up for history. I think if a pitcher has a chance to get one, you got to ride the wave as long as it's reasonable. It wasn't reasonable in this case for Clarke Schmidt to go the 8th and 9th after he just struggled through the 7th. I wish you, and let's just say in a hypothetical, you put Jonathan Loaizaga and Devin Williams in this game. Do you trust them to go 2 hitless innings? Not really. So let's see what JT Brubaker's got. And spoiler alert, he would have gone 2 hitless innings if the umpires had any fucking idea what a swing was. Because Gary Sánchez struck out, called ball 3, laced the next pitch for a single in the center field, and then no more hits, 6 more outs. Brubaker did the job. Nothing wrong with the move. The umpires beefed it and botched it. You read between the lines of what Boone said. It sounded like Clarke also agreed he was done, and Boone was protecting his player. After the game, quote, Clarke wasn't in a position to do that today. That's all I would say to that. If somebody asked, what would you consider him for the 8th? Or if it's the 9th, maybe you roll the dice.
You absolutely roll the dice if it's the 9th.
I think you do. But Clarke shot himself in the foot in the first. Himself in the foot. I mean, 7 no-hit innings. Foot is fine. But in terms of completing this game, that was pretty much out of the question after the first. It's amazing he lasted as long as he did, knowing that he is Clarke Schmidt. And I think there's a larger conversation to be had about, are we actually preventing injuries from being this strict about pitch counts, blah, blah. But he didn't look great in the 7th. He gutted through it. If you had left him in to give up a hit in the 8th, people will be talking about, what was it, Sean Marash yelling shirtless at his personal pool bar, like, Aaron Boone, you ruined my Saturday. If Aaron Boone ruined your Saturday, get a life. But the people who said Aaron Boone ruined their Saturday, if you left, I know you people. I interact with you people on Twitter every day. If he had left Clarke Schmidt in for the 8th, and then he had given up a 2-run homer, and it's 9-2 when they have to bring in Brubaker, and the Yankees win 9-4, guess what? You're also telling me about how Aaron Boone ruined your Saturday because Clarke Schmidt's confidence is shot. You couldn't take him out on a high note? You had to leave him in to give up a home run? You have any idea how to manage a pitcher or a person? Like, I know you people. So I had no problem with it at the time. I have no problem with it now. If it was the end of the 8th and you had to bring him back for the 9th, then yeah, you bring him back till he gives up a hit. But I guarantee you people would have been screaming about him exiting on a bummer of a single instead of exiting on a high note and momentum instead.
Yeah. I mean, I would have actually, because I messaged you after the game, and because I missed the 5th inning on, and they were up by, so I had to go do something, and I was like, wow, they really didn't leave him in for the no-hitter, and he had 1 inning left, and you were like, he had 2 left, and I was like, oh, great. Yeah, I would have 100%. You would have heard me yelling about this if it was 1 inning left, at 103 pitches, because at that point, like, what's the difference between 103 and 115? You know, there's a difference between 103 and 130, which is where we could have been approaching if Clarke Schmidt had to finish the final 2 innings. And look, there's been a lot of issue with Clarke Schmidt from the get-go. He had Tommy John before even starting his professional career. He's been injured pretty consistently ever since making his major league debut. He is not known for length. I know this year he has a number of quality starts, which has been reassuring. But again, missed the first 2.5 weeks of the year with injury. So like there has to be some sort of management here with him. And he's typically not efficient. He labors through a lot of his outings, especially previously the last couple of years. It's a lot of gutting through 4 or 5 inning outings. And that was one of our chief complaints, where it was like when we needed a starter to just give the bullpen a rest, Clarke Schmidt was typically not that guy. So now you have him at 103 pitches through 7 innings, and you're beating the hell out of your opponent. It's like it's a no-brainer. There's no and if Clarke put up no fight, that's how you know it was the right answer. That's how you truly know it was the right answer. Forget about it being the right answer. That's how you truly know you have no leg to stand on. If you didn't see him in the dugout protesting, then conversation's over. He's not coming back in the game. There's no need for it.
But you're going to get that from fans too. Like, well, he didn't even fight for it. This guy's a joke. Like, all right, cool.
I mean, please. It was a 9-0 game. Just take the win after we're fucking bleeding losses. Like, we got to find a new thing to complain about. And look, I love complaining.
Well, the comments right now, the comments saying, is this the complain your ass off channel? Aren't we doing the opposite? Like, we're distilling what fans are yelling about and saying the fans need to stop complaining. And instead, we're now getting called. There's no winning here. Like pulling Clarke Schmidt or keeping him in. You just can't win.
He probably tuned in right when you were doing the impersonation.
He probably thought I sounded like that. Yeah. I don't sound like that usually, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always something to complain about. Look, we didn't podcast last week. Everyone was going nuts about Anthony Volpe. Were we part of that? I mean, we're always. Our stance on Anthony Volpe is just, it's always the same. The fact that people get more mad at different points is just like, I don't even understand why. That means one of two things. Either you're not watching all the time, or you're not ever appreciating or taking into account when he's performing at a high level. So like, I understand like Volpe's hot streaks aren't like, they're not blowing the lid off anything, or it's not making you like turn your head and be like, oh my God, this kid, where is this coming from? It's more so like what you would expect out of a productive major leaguer. But like, everyone can't be on his ass when he fucks up. Then like, it's just the nature of how this is supposed to work. And I know it's hard because fans don't act that way. But yeah, last week was bad for Anthony Volpe, and he had this little Saturday game where it kind of saved him from further criticism because it was another 0-for-4 night on Friday, and then Aaron Boone was talking about giving him rest. Don't know how. Don't know why this is like Aaron Boone saying he's giving Anthony Volpe rest, and everyone's like, oh, thank God. Like, why is he just not getting regular rest?
Yeah,
I don't get it. But yeah, I mean, fans, you got a lot of people going off the rails. Was Anthony Volpe's error bad? Yeah. Was him swinging at the first pitch in extra innings the most egregious thing ever? No. He's batting .300 swinging at the first pitch. This Yankees team this year has absolutely done the most damage against almost all the pitchers they face by being aggressive early in the counts. That's why you bring up Jazz swinging 3-0. It's like more of that. When they have a tell on a pitcher or when they have a certain strategy that they're implementing against the opponent, they're very successful. It is when they start taking strikes or when they start trying to work counts when they don't need to is when this all turns into a disaster. So, yeah, just got to pick and choose your arguments. And if anybody was mad about Clarke Schmidt, wrong argument.
Anthony Volpe too. It's a matter of like he was sold as like a 3,100 like Cal Ripken Jr. top 10 prospect in all of baseball, and I think we're settling into an area where he's got his faults. He's a good, solid player. I want him on my team. I want him in the lineup. The spotlight thing, like, I don't know, he hit a grand slam in the World Series. I can't say that. I don't think it's like a when the spotlight's too bright. I think it's just inconsistency there. He's not quite the player we thought he was. He's a productive player. It's a lot like. It's a lot like Alec Boehm in Philly, and I was at the game last night on Sunday Night Baseball, just kind of being like, I think the dirty secret is if Dave Dombrowski had an alternative, if he had like a third baseman he could pay like $40 million a year, he would, and he would trade Alec Boehm. But can you win a World Series with Alec Boehm at third? I think so. Like Anthony Volpe is that kind of guy. I think 2.5 years in, like, does he prevent you from winning a World Series? No. Could he have a moment along a playoff run? He had several last year. Mm-hmm. If you had the chance to upgrade, if somebody came to you with Corey Seager and were like, and you could trade Volpe to the Twins, yeah, I think Brian Cashman would probably do that. Like, it's an upgradable spot, but he's not a bad baseball player. It's just a little bit different than what we thought we were getting as he came up, and the expectations were absurd.
A little bit. He's a lot bit. I mean, and it's the Yankees' fault. The Yankees... it's the prospect evaluator's fault. It's the Yankees' fault. Look, prospect evaluation, if anybody here reads, more than you need to into that, you're already putting yourself in a bad spot. That's number one. Number two is, this is, again, the Yankees, if anybody is to blame with Anthony Volpe's development, it's the Yankees. He got 25 games at AAA or 22 games at AAA or whatever, and then he was given the job at the major league level without any consistent production at the highest level of the minors, which is where these Yankees top prospects have had problems, either succeeding at the AAA level or translating that AAA success to major league success. So when the Yankees passed on, and it was bad timing too, they passed on that big shortstop free agent class, which again, we can argue a lot of those guys wouldn't have worked out anyway. It just would have been essentially a couple of years of Seager to hope that you could propel yourself past the Astros in those couple of years. And the Rangers ended up benefiting, whatever. But Anthony Volpe has, I think, more WAR than Corey Seager since he debuted. And obviously Seager's been injured. So look, would I love to have Corey Seager on this roster and at third base? Or, I'd even take him on the IL and ready to come back. Like, that's a great asset to have. But the Yankees sold Anthony Volpe to everybody as the prince who was promised and the next future shortstop, Jersey kid, name all the cliches that go along with it. And he either wasn't ready or, again, a lot of what the Yankees prospects have dealt with had trouble translating into the next level. And the second layer of this is that they'd never given him time to work through things or to rest and work through things or gather himself. He has missed 5 major league games or 6 major league games since debuting in 2023. He has played through every heinous slump that he's been in, which I don't think anybody else on this roster, with the exception of Aaron Judge, has the luxury of ever doing. Like, even Stanton gets rest at the DH spot. So it's just so bizarre. And then you package that with the fact that he has, just forgot what I was going to say. But either way, the Yankees fully have allowed this to persist in the manner that it has. And they haven't had a creative way to figure it out, and allowing him to continue to play through these slumps and not giving him days off and leaving him susceptible to the media asking such questions or the endless fan criticism. His Yankees tenure has not been managed properly. And look, here's the other layer. They don't have a backup shortstop. So, I mean, Shouldn't every roster have like a back? Shouldn't the bench be a versatile fourth outfielder who could play multiple positions, a backup shortstop, a veteran thumper who can pinch hit, and then, a backup catcher? Like that should be the prototypical bench. The Yankees, as we know, the assortment of bench players is a mishmash of shit that nobody cares about. But yeah, it's been all the poor mismanagement on Volpe here, and it's not fair when he takes the criticism because yes, the play on the field. Look, the error he made against the Angels is unacceptable. The batting slumps, they're going to happen. He's not where he needs to be as a hitter, and that's probably Dylan Lawson's fault. Who knows? Like that was the guy he came up with, and I'll still blame him as long as he's with the Red Sox. You just can't sit here and start a crusade against a random player because the faults have the bottom line is this: Anthony Volpe's a major league player. He might not be a future cornerstone piece at shortstop. The other part of the argument I was making came back to me. Not only did the Yankees fail to take Volpe out of the spotlight to help him get out of those issues, but every time he had a semblance of a hot streak, they'd move him up to the leadoff spot or they put him batting cleanup. And it's like, dude, just let him settle in to the lineup and continue with what he's doing. Obviously, maybe that wouldn't have worked because this year they're not really doing that. He's batted fifth a few times, which we took exception to, but he hasn't been moved into a marquee spot in the lineup, so maybe that didn't matter. But we know for a fact one thing is that didn't help. So either way, I think Anthony Volpe is a Major League Baseball player. I think his ceiling is remaining as a starting shortstop, a 2020 power with largely inconsistent offense. And I think his floor is first guy off the bench, middle infielder, providing good defense and giving you an exciting lightning rod at the bottom of the lineup. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, it's just the expectations we were sold versus the reality. It's not the player's fault. It's the organization's fault.
Welcome back to the Complain Your Ass Off channel. If you're just joining us, no, it's 100% true. And I mean, look, it's glaring that the bench is what it is, and that when you give Anthony Volpe a day off, you have to go to Oswald Peraza at shortstop, who has like a 58 WRC plus or whatever it is. And the fourth outfielder accidentally becoming an all-star in Trent Grisham has really made the rest of the bench look weird because it's sort of an overestimation. It's like, what are you talking about? The bench is bad. Trent Grisham's the fourth outfielder. Oh my God. But the rest of it is so bad. And it is every year. And you look at the Red Sox with like a Romy Gonzalez and a Rob Refsnyder. Oh, we're facing a lefty. Okay, we're going to put two lefty killers in from the bench into the lineup. You look at the Yankees when they have to adjust the lineup. That's why people say Boone's starting a punt lineup, because everyone on the bench looks like a punt except for the outfield. Just it is what it is. And they're going to have to, you want to talk about trade deadline, and we're going to do that plenty in the next month. There's 1A, B, C, D is get bats. Get bats that make sense. Get a starting third baseman. Get a bench. Get major league quality right-handed power hitters. We'll see what they actually do, but it seems pretty evident at this moment in time. And look, they lost another starter this weekend. We have to talk about it. Ryan Yarbrough goes down.
My favorite player.
It stinks. Everybody loves him. To me, that doesn't change the trade deadline calculus, though. Like I'm not sitting here going, oh my God, okay, no Yarbrough. They're getting killed by injuries. We need another starter. Yarbrough did his job. And this is, for all intents and purposes, supposed to be a short-term oblique injury. This is not, major. He's been feeling it for 2 outings in a row. He couldn't get warmed up. They say, great, give him the time off, deserves it. Hopefully he's back in 2 weeks instead of in a month and a half. It's hard to think of a better option in the interim than Allan Winans, who has an 0.90 ERA at AAA. We're going to see him tonight. I don't know what we're going to see, but I know that person deserves a chance to fill a big league role for the time being. How often does this tend to line up, though? It's kind of ridiculous. Like, it's a low-grade strain. Probably won't keep him down too long. Marcus Stroman is 3 rehab starts deep. He's been decent. He's looked fine. He's coming up on his 3rd. He's not ready, but he will be soon enough. Yarbrough is the one who saved us from the purgatory after he went down. Maybe he'll save the Yankees coming back. But Luis Heel, throwing off a mound, throwing a bullpen. He's a trade deadline acquisition. And I know people always laugh at that. But at the same time, like, he really is one this time.
No.
Not for you?
I know I can't go through they forget about that being, it is the reality. Luis Gil coming back when he is going to come back is in theory an impact trade deadline acquisition that most teams don't have the luxury of getting. But at the same time, this is the narrative that has made the Yankees look like, I don't know a nice word that I can use, but it's made them look incredibly soft and conservative, if those are probably the best adjectives, over these last few years when they've refused to step on their opponent's throat with making moves at the trade deadline or whatever it might have been. It's the same type narrative. And secondly, it's like, just because shitty injury luck is timing up with the trade deadline, that's how we're gonna view the trade deadline lens. Like, that's what we're gonna what a coincidence. We have two guys coming back after the All-Star break that are gonna fill roster needs for us. Like, as much as I love Luis Gil, we don't know how he's gonna perform.
No.
I wouldn't want any player. I wouldn't want any trade deadline acquisition, even if it was a former Cy Young winner coming off shoulder troubles. That wouldn't be a guarantee to succeed this year. That would be a giant risk. That's high risk, high reward, which is not, you need steadfast options at the trade deadline. You need as guaranteed as you can get out. So like Andrew Benintendi that one year, a great guaranteed acquisition. Freak injury took him out. Like, all right, bad luck, that's fine, but you can't acquire damaged goods or get damaged goods back and be like, we're good now. This is great for the roster. Like, I also do understand that there are limited roster spots to go around, but even with Luis Gil back in the picture, even with Marcus Stroman back in the picture, if that's going to be the reality, like, there's still areas of need that can be addressed by getting rid of some other folks.
Unequivocally. And who is going to be excited to see just a completely inactive trade deadline? Nobody. I mean, the Yankees have to do some work, and no one is going to be pumped and waving the flag when Marcus Stroman comes back. If he does come back to fill a roster spot that was going pretty well, all right? Ryan Yarbrough was doing the job. No one is excited to see him go down. But at the same time, it is sort of every inning you got from Ryan Yarbrough that was effective is a bonus. No one started the year being like, Yarbrough, I think, is going to be our fourth starter all year. No one had Ryan Yarbrough wasn't on the roster until 3 days before the regular season, if even that. So great job so far by Ryan Yarbrough. Going to need to see them attack the trade deadline with serious tenacity. And some of that comes from, I think, Yankee fans have made their voices pretty clear on Spencer Jones, who now has a 994 OPS at AA, who now is closer than ever to being someone who's fulfilling that promise. Even though he still strikes out 65 Ks in 42 games, I believe, the whiff is still not where you want it to be. It's still at a level where you look at it and say that's unsustainable for most major leaguers, but 5 tools, the power is absurd. The hard contact is finally starting to result in league leading offense. In case you stopped following Spencer Jones last year when he was sort of just, okay, 17 home runs, 76 RBI. Isn't he supposed to be an advanced bat, dominating AA? Now he's hitting 272, 395 OBP, 994 OPS again, 15 bombs and 30 RBI and 162 AB. Great arm, great speed, great outfield instincts. Great player. A 2022 first-round pick looking like a 2022 first-round pick, 24 years old at AA. But if you ask Yankee fans, okay, do you want to ride it out and give Spencer Jones a runway to contribute next year? Or do you want him to come to camp competing for an outfield spot? Or do you want to trade him this summer? They're like unanimous 100% we want to trade him this summer and sell high. And you know what? Me too. Because outfield is not a problem for the Yankees at this moment in time. There are also other outfielders I like in the system. They're not devoid of outfielders. Everson Pereira, I like. Brendan Jones, who just came up to AA, I like a lot. They're going to eventually have to challenge Spencer Jones at AAA. And by eventually, maybe I mean like a week from now. But guess what? I don't think they're going to do it before the trade deadline because I think they want to trade Spencer Jones. And it depends who's on the market. Depends if Eugenio Suarez is a real target. Right now, there are like 3 sellers, and they're all the worst teams in baseball, and they all have nobody you want. So maybe Spencer Jones is a Yankee through the end of the year into the winter. But at this moment in time, it does feel like the time is now to strike while the iron is hot. Maybe he's not a centerpiece, but maybe he is at this point. And get what you can for him in terms of a power-hitting third base bat or a power-hitting infielder or just a bench bat and a starter that makes some sense. A right-handed number 2 starter or a starting caliber third baseman with pop, I would trade Spencer Jones. I think everybody else would too. But I think most notably, for the first time, this isn't just a Yankee fan issue. It's not, would you trade Spencer Jones? And then when you say you would, I come back at you and say nobody wants him, though. Now people might be interested. He probably is what he is in terms of the Ks, but before he was what he was in terms of the Ks, and he wasn't doing anything else. Now he's doing plenty. And I think you have to consider that potentially some other teams are going to be tempted now in ways that they wouldn't have been this offseason.
Yeah, and I mean, he's gotten a lot of runway at Double-A, too. He's been there for 187 games. Another tie back to Anthony Volpe. How many games at Double-A did Anthony Volpe get? Anybody care to guess?
It was about, that was about a season, right?
110 games he got.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that special. He batted .250 with an .820 OPS. Does that warrant a promotion? I guess really depends on what the team thinks of you. But then again, you go to AAA for 22 games and bat .236 with a .718 OPS. It's just more evidence that just trade your prospects that are not completely integral to your plan when they're hot, because it's the only way you're going to get value. Like, look, I will say last year we were opposed to the idea of trading Spencer Jones for Corbin Burns preseason for 1 year of Burns and without even seeing a lot of Jones at that point, because he had only gotten a high A and there was no evidence. Then he goes to Double-A and he's not good, and you're saying, well, we should have made that deal. Damn it, that sucks. Again, and the Yankees didn't have this outfield luxury. There were questions around Jason Dominguez after his injury. Juan Soto was probably there was the jeopardy of him leaving after the year. Trent Grisham didn't look like the player that he looks like this year. So everything's kind of turned around. Now, if the Yankees can use this luxury to their advantage and they can upgrade right now, I mean, I'm still taking this year seriously. I think this team is good. I think this team has the potential to make a run, and it's all going to come down to the trade deadline. So if you're going to hang on to your young talent for the sake of looking maybe good in 2-3 years, then okay, you're going to waste your time and cancel another year of Aaron Judge's prime right in front of your eyes. And if you go for it and it doesn't work out, then like, I understand people are going to get mad, but the smart people will say, we tried, we made the good deal. The deal didn't work out, or the deal works out and it's genius, and then you forget about Spencer Jones for the rest of time. You may be right about him one time after he goes on a heater with his new team, and you're like, damn, this would have been nice because Jason Dominguez didn't pan out, but you get a World Series out of it, great. If you go to the World Series, I still think that's a win for the trade if whoever you acquire is contributing in a meaningful manner. So, you don't have to talk to me about trading prospects. Like, I'll trade them all. I'm content version of Dave Dombrowski.
Dave Dombrowski, who wins, by the way. Look at the Red Sox big three. I mean, it's coming. I'm sure they're all going to be better. They're all going to be better, but we don't want to call them up to be saviors. And fans are like, why not? They should be saviors. They're all hitting in the 100s. Like, it's not easy. they're going. Roman Anthony's putting up some great ABs and he's walking, and that's great. Yeah. Marcelo Myers hitting 180. Christian Campbell got demoted. Like, their brighter days are around the corner, but the Red Sox listen to all their fans breathlessly scream and tweet screenshots of the MLB app strike zone, and they wanted their prospects now. Here, need them. And the team is like, we don't want them to be saviors. And fans were like, I don't care. And here they are. They're all hitting in the 100s. So baseball is really hard. Trading your prospects, a good idea. Kyle Teal, who I'm like, man, I can't believe the Red Sox traded that guy. Also hitting in the low 200s in the MLB level. Like, it's difficult. And this is the summer to trade your prospects. Last summer was too.
Last summer was it. They didn't do it.
This summer is also a fantastic time to trade your prospects. And we're going to be talking about all those prospect trades coming up next month on the Yanks Go Yard podcast. Thank you for joining us. Thanks for sticking it out as we complained or not, or just described an honestly pretty good weekend in Yankees baseball. We're going to have more for you later in the week, Thursday afternoon. Set your alarm, subscribe, turn on your notifications, know when we're going live, and then join us on your favorite podcast platform after the live stream. I'm Adam Weinrib. You can find me on Twitter at Adam Weinrib. Thomas Carannante, where can the people find you?
I am at Tommy's_takes. We are both at the official Yanks Go Yard account at Yanks Go Yard FS. Please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Would be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Nice crowd. We're not complaining, swear. Didn't even really complain that much over this losing streak. Just kind of sat there with our hands in our laps, wondering when it was going to stop because we've been here before. Head on over to yanksgoyard.com. That's where all the content is for you. We got a lot of stuff, guys. About 6-ish weeks away from the trade deadline. Things are heating up. We're going to be all over it for you, informing you with everything you need to know about Yankees baseball. So thank you guys for listening and reading. We'll catch you on the flip side. Let's go Yanks at Reds. Here it is.
Catch you on the flippity flip. Chase Burns on Tuesday for his MLB debut. Maybe the number one most exciting pitching prospect in baseball. Great. But again, Allan Winans for the Yankees on Monday too. It's a weird series. But at least this one, your expectations are like, we just took 3 out of 4. Let's see what this is. It could be weird. Instead of coming home, we have to beat the Angels. How did we get shut out for 2 consecutive games by the Angels? Have a little fun. Baseball's up and down. Yesterday, we got a rare perfect day where the Yankees won and all of their AL East competitors hung that L banner. So yeah, going into a bit of a wild card Monday, into a bit of an exciting MLB debut Tuesday. Let's scratch some wins together, shall we? Why not? And then enjoy your finally day off Thursday before we come home and face the Sacramento A's. Very normal stuff. We will see you again later in the week.